Mr. President, I believe that our democracy works best when as many eligible people as possible participate in our democracy. That's not a controversial stance or a partisan talking point. It's actually the bedrock of our democracy, and something that I assume we all learned in high school civics class. That's why in March of 2021, President Biden issued Executive Order 14019, directing federal agencies to take common sense steps to promote nonpartisan voter registration and participation, including by partnering with state voter registration offices. Voter registration offices, by the way, are recognized and charged by federal law, right? We have the National Voter Motor Law, just as one example, from 1994. I'm very familiar with this because prior to joining the Senate, I served as California Secretary of State, where in that lens, from that perspective, I enthusiastically support the administration's efforts to ensure that all eligible Americans are able to participate in our elections. So you see, in the democracy, nobody should be afraid of encouraging more eligible Americans to register to vote and to cast their ballot. Nobody should be afraid of increasing turnout. Certainly not United States senators. But at the same time, I also strongly support Congress's oversight role. That's why I've already engaged in conversations with the administration on the steps that they're taking to implement the executive order and help more eligible Americans vote. Because that's what this straightforward executive order does. It simply directs federal agencies to take appropriate steps, mindful of the law, within their existing authorities, not asking them to do anything they haven't done before, to help eligible Americans to vote. Nowhere in the order does it say help Democrats or help Republicans or help any eligible American. So, if my colleague is interested in joining me to receive these updates from the administration on their implementation, I'd be more than happy to facilitate such a meeting and conversation. But this bill, colleagues, the bill before us now, is simply the latest Republican attempt to undermine the Biden administration's efforts to expanding voting to all eligible Americans. Earlier this year, I voted alongside my Democratic colleagues against efforts that would have blocked funding to implement this executive order. And I'll continue to work with my colleagues to protect the right to vote and efforts to promote voter access. And again, I'm more than happy to work with my colleague, any of my colleagues, to have productive conversations with the administration. But this bill will only serve to undermine the work being done to promote voter registration and participation. So therefore, Mr. President, I object.
Objection is heard.